All right, are you ready for this? FA Cup fourth round, Manchester United versus Leicester City.
Buckle up, because this one's going to be a wild ride.
You got that right. And to make sure we are all prepped for this match, you've sent me some seriously insightful articles breaking down all of the potential lineups and team news.
Yeah, should be a good one. You know, what really makes this match fascinating is the context. Both these teams are walking a bit of a tightrope right now.
Totally. It's not just about advancing in the FA Cup. It's about Premier League survival, especially for Leicester, and a chance for Manchester United to, I don't know, build some momentum after some, shall we say, mixed results lately.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's dive right into Manchester United. One thing that jumped out at me, their new signing, Patrick Dorgu. He might make his debut.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they presented him to the fans at Old Trafford before that Crystal Palace loss?
Yeah, I remember that. That was a cool moment.
It was. So, you know, maybe he's already had a taste of the spotlight, right?
That's true. Yeah. And it's interesting you bring that up, because I think it could be more than just a debut. You know, it could be a sign of Manchester United's commitment to bringing in those young players. They've had a history of nurturing those young talents. And Dorgu's performance could be, well, maybe a glimpse into the future of the club.
I like that. It's not just about this one match. It's a much bigger picture.
Exactly.
Okay, but speaking of familiar faces, Diogo Dalot is back from suspension after that red card, remember, in the previous round.
I'm sure Leicester remembers that.
Oh, yeah, I bet they do. But his return, that's huge for Manchester United, right? Especially when you look at some of their defensive struggles.
Definitely. And, you know, you have to think about Lisandro Martinez and Luke Shaw. There's still kind of question marks because of injuries, right?
Yeah, some pretty big gaps to fill in that back line. I think Luke Shaw might be back, but if not, man, Manchester United's going to have to get creative.
For sure.
Now, here's a big question. Altay Baindir.
Oh, yes.
He was just phenomenal against Arsenal.
Yeah. He really was. Those saves were incredible.
I mean, straight out of a highlight reel. So has he done enough to earn that number one spot? Or is this, you know, just a cup match thing?
Well, it's a tough question.
Yeah.
You know, he definitely made a strong case for himself in that Arsenal match.
Absolutely.
Thrown in there, and he delivers. But you got to have consistency. So the question is, can he replicate that performance against Leicester?
Right.
That's the big question.
And, you know, another interesting thing, and this is one I'll admit I had to do a little Google search, Toby Collier, he might get a start in the midfield.
Interesting.
Now, that suggests to me maybe Amorim's thinking about controlling the tempo of the match, maybe even slow things down a bit, right?
Especially given those defensive concerns we've been talking about.
Makes a lot of sense. A little bit more cautious, young player holding it down in the midfield. All right, let's talk about the team facing all that potential firepower, right? Leicester City. Big news here, Wilfred Ndidi. It looks like he might return from injury. That's massive for Leicester, right?
Absolutely. Indeed, he's that anchor in their midfield. He brings that defensive stability that allows the attacking players like, you know, Jamie Vardy to do their thing.
Exactly.
So, yeah, if he's back to full fitness, it's a whole different game. Changes the dynamic completely.
And let's not forget, they are battling relegation. I mean, how do you think that impacts their approach to this FA Cup match? Is it even a priority?
Right. I mean, as prestigious as the FA Cup is, staying in the Premier League, that's everything. It's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
And the articles kind of hinted at that they might be forced into a more conservative style, you know, counterattacking.
Oh.
Which, ironically, could play right into Manchester United's hands.
Because of that back line, that vulnerability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
So it could be very tactical, right? Leicester sitting back, waiting to pounce. Manchester United maybe a bit hesitant to overcommit, knowing, oh, there's that counterattack waiting to happen. Oh, yeah.
Now, they are dealing with some key injuries of their own, too, right?
Unfortunately, yeah. We've got Ricardo Pereira and Issahaku Fatawu both out. And Fatawu, he's done for the season.
Oh, wow.
Which is really tough because he brought that pace and width that you need for a good counterattack.
Yeah.
So it's a tough spot for the manager to be in, for sure.
Really difficult.
Yeah.
And then you throw in, I mean, you know, just to add another layer, Woyo Koulibaly, he might get his first start. Another new name to watch.
Yeah, that's another layer of unpredictability, right? I mean, high pressure situation for a young player going up against a team like Manchester United.
Talk about a trial by fire.
Exactly.
I am already feeling the tension. We haven't even talked about, like, the tactical battle between these two managers.
It's going to be good.
This is like a chess match on the pitch.
Right. You've got Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. He's known for his tactical flexibility.
Right.
And then you got Ruud van Nistelrooy at Leicester. And he's going to be looking for any weakness, anything he can exploit. I bet he already has a few ideas up his sleeve. So what'd you find? What did the articles say?
Well, one of the articles I was reading, it was highlighting Manchester United's vulnerability on the flanks.
Oh.
Especially with the potential defensive absences. So if Leicester can use their pace and that width effectively, even without Fatawu,
right,
they might be able to, create some dangerous opportunities.
Hold on. So Leicester, battling relegation, forced into a more cautious approach, but potentially able to exploit this weakness.
Exactly. It all comes down to the styles.
This is why we love the FA Cup. It's unpredictable.
Exactly.
I mean, high stakes, contrasting styles, surprises galore. What more could you want?
Absolutely.
So we've got this potential debut, a key player returning from suspension, and a manager trying to outmaneuver his opponent while dealing with multiple, priorities.
It's like a big puzzle. Yeah. And we're just starting to figure it out.
So let's just take a breath for a second. Okay, recap time. Manchester United, tons of firepower, right?
Yeah.
But some defensive concerns, especially those flanks. And then they've got Dorgu, eager to prove himself. And of course, Bandier coming off that, just incredible performance.
Yeah. And then you got Leicester, and they're facing this real dilemma, be cautious because of the relegation battle, but they've got this chance to exploit Manchester United's weaknesses. And then, of course, you got Ndidi coming back, potentially unleashing that counterattack.
All right, we've set the stage. Now let's really dive into those potential starting lineups and see how this tactical battle might actually play out.
Let's do it. I'm ready when you are. Hashtag TTS, the deep dive episode 2025-0205, part 2 of 3. Let's unpack these potential lineups. Starting with Manchester United, those articles suggest we might see Amad Diallo and Kobbie Mainoo reading the attack. Remember we talked about how Mainoo got a tryout as a striker last match? Do you think that experiment will continue?
I don't know. If I'm Ruben Amorim, I'm looking at that midfield, right? And Collier might be starting. Maybe I need a bit more support there.
That's true. Stability in the midfield would be key, especially with, those defensive concerns.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a more experienced striker alongside Diallo makes sense, but then again, Mainoo's speed could cause some real problems for that Leicester backline. They might be a little slow, It's like, what does Amorim do? How much risk is he willing to take?
It's a tough call. Does he go for control and possession, or does he roll the dice with Mainoo's speed and try to, exploit Leicester's weaknesses?
And then you factor in that vulnerability on the flanks. If Leicester can isolate Diallo, he's just back from suspension, or whoever fills in for Shaw, oh boy, it could be a long night.
Every move has consequences. It's like chess, Amorim needs to find the right balance. Attacking, but solid at the back.
Manchester United's attack, electric. But that defense, they might be holding their breath every time Leicester gets the ball. Okay, let's flip the script. Leicester City, what's their starting lineup look like? Any surprises there?
Well, besides Koulibaly, and, he might debut, the big question is what formation are they going to go with?
Yeah.
Now, if Ndidi's fully fit, we might see that 4-3-3. Gives them more midfielders, and it lets their wingers push higher up the pitch.
A 4-3-3, that's a pretty attacking formation.
It is. But if they're more worried about, containing Manchester United, and let's be real, that's a valid concern, we could see a 5-4-1. More defensive,
So Leicester's like a chameleon.
Yeah.
Adapting to the environment.
Makes it tough to predict this match.
Exactly. And then there's Jamie Vardy. No matter what formation, he's dangerous. Experience and goals, you can't discount that.
He's like a fine wine. Gets better with age.
Okay, so we've got two managers, different styles, a real tactical battle brewing. But within all of that, are there any individual matchups that you think could be decisive?
I'm really curious to see that midfield battle. Yuri Tielemans, he's Leicester's, creative engine.
Yeah, and for Manchester United, it's all about who partners with Collier if he starts, right?
Yeah. If they can disrupt Tielemans, stop him from controlling the tempo, that gives them a much better chance to control the match.
But if Tielemans has space, especially if they get Vardy running in behind.
Exactly. Don't forget about James Maddison, too. If he's on, he's a handful.
Yeah.
Creates chances out of thin air.
So we've got Tielemans versus, whoever Manchester United puts in there. We've got Vardy's experience versus that maybe shaky defense. And then Maddison maybe unlocking opportunities. What else am I missing?
Set pieces. Both teams can put dangerous balls in the box, and with the defenses we've been talking about, that could be the difference maker.
Oh, you are so right. One good corner or free kick and boom, momentum shift.
It's going to be intense.
Okay, before we get into game-changing moments, predictions, all that fun stuff, I want to talk about the atmosphere. What's it going to be like at Old Trafford?
Oh, it's going to be electric. FA Cup, the stakes, all of it. It's going to be special.
I can already hear the roar of that crowd.
And the Leicester supporters, too. They travel well, and they'll be loud, wanting it upset.
Oh, man. It's going to be a cauldron. We've been talking all this tactics, but, sometimes it's the crowd that tips the scales. That energy.
It's true. Passion, emotion, it's all part of football.
Okay, before we go any further, let's remind ourselves, why should you, the listener, care about all this? We've talked about so much. What does it all mean? Why should you be invested?
Because this is more than just a game. It's like two stories colliding.
It's about dreams.
Yeah. Manchester United trying to, recapture that glory.
Leicester City defying the odds again.
And all the players, the young guys, the vets, the stars, it's all there.
When you're watching this match, remember you're watching something real. These are real people. It's a human drama. Triumph, heartbreak, the whole 9 yards, and you get to choose who you're rooting for, whose story resonates with you.
And who knows, maybe we'll see a star born. The FA Cup has launched a few careers, that's for sure.
Okay, ready for some predictions. We can't see the future, but I'm curious. What are some outcomes that are particularly intriguing to you? Hashtag TTS, the deep dive episode 2025-0205, part 3 of 3.
Oh, predictions. All right. Let's see. I'm really fascinated by that midfield battle we talked about. If indeed he's, really back and Leicester can disrupt Manchester United, it could get ugly for them. But if Collier steps up and they can really take advantage of that space on those flanks, we might see a ton of goals.
I agree. It feels like who wins that midfield, they kind of control the whole match. What else is catching your eye?
Okay, how about this? A really tactical first half. Both teams a little cautious, feeling each other out. Nobody wants to make that first mistake. And then second half, everything explodes. Goals, drama, the whole shebang.
Oh, those are the best matches. You never know what's going to happen next. And you know what? What if Koulibaly comes off the bench, scores the game winner, debut goal?
Talk about a story for the ages. That's the beauty of the FA Cup, right? You just never know.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Lineups, tactics, all those little narratives. But now, it's your turn. Listener, we want to hear from you.
We've given you all this information, all these possibilities. So who do you think will be the most impactful player in this match? And why? Give us the name, but give us the reason. What makes them the key?
Yeah, paint us a picture. What are you seeing? What moments are you imagining?
Put on that analyst hat. We want to hear your predictions.
Exactly. And hey, even if you're wrong, it's all about, the process. Thinking it through, that's half the fun. So dive deep, be critical, but most importantly, enjoy the match. That's what it's all about. The passion, the drama, the unpredictability. This is why we love football. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and, never lose that love for the beautiful game.